Now that we've imported images into Lightroom, we're ready to do some work in Lightroom. So I have come back out of Lightroom just to show you one more time how to launch it. I'm in my Lightroom Master Catalog folder on my flash drive, and I can double click on that icon. You can see that since the last time we used Lightroom, Lightroom has created some temporary files that are up here. This is some data. It could be XMP data that it didn't finish writing when we quit last time. It could be anything that the software needs to deal with again once it's open. Like I mentioned before, Lightroom will do whatever it does with these files. Don't worry about it. The file we're concerned about is this one here that is our master catalog. So if I double click on that, it will relaunch Lightroom and it'll bring me right back to where we were. So this brings up another point. Lightroom saves everything you do as you do it. There is no save in Lightroom. It's just automatically doing all of that and keeping track of everything that we do. So we don't need to worry about saving. We don't need to worry about whether it's gotten saved. Lightroom should do that for you automatically. So let's look at the interface of Lightroom. This is the library module. So I'm going to make it a little bit bigger just so it fills the screen. You can kind of see everything. We have a number of modules up here in the upper right corner. The modules are the workspaces that we have in Lightroom. We have the library module, which is really the one that we're going to use the most for this first assignment. And that has everything to do with sorting and organizing and labeling and keywording and dealing with all of our files and our photos themselves. The other one that we're going to start using with assignment number 2 is the develop module. And the develop module, if these pop up in Lightroom, you can just click the little box that says turn off tips, unless you want it to walk you through what all of the things are. And then you can just hit the little X in the corner. So what the develop module is, this is a way for us to be able to modify our images and change some of the looks of our images. So we'll get into that in assignment number 2. There is a map module. So if your camera has GPS, it will map your photos onto a map. We're not going to really be using it. There is a book module that will, looks like, take a while to open. It will try to set up a book to be printed. You'll be charged for the printing of the book. It gets printed through Blurb. It's just a way to, another way to print and export your images. Again, we're not going to be using that book. Slideshow is pretty much the same thing. It'll create a slideshow out of your images. We're not going to be dealing with that. We will be, in this first assignment, dealing with the print module. We'll get to that in future demos. And then the web is a way to make a really rudimentary web preview of your images, but you would need a place to host this on the internet. So this also requires some third-party software in order to have full utilization. And then the last one is the cloud, which is our cloud storage. Using the software here on campus, you do not have access to cloud storage. If you have your own personal copy of Lightroom, then you'll have access to a limited amount of Adobe Cloud storage. And you could store your images on there, and it'll let you use mobile Lightroom to access your images and to make adjustments to them on a mobile device. So that's the basic layout of the modules. Like I said, we're really going to be working in library, develop, and print. Those are the 3 that we're going to use in Photo 123. I'm going to take this opportunity to remind you one more time that this class is a photography class and not a Lightroom class. We are going to deal with Lightroom to a certain extent, but that is just to allow us to get the images into the computer, make selections of those images, and then print those images. That is really the extent of what we're going to do in Lightroom. So let's talk about how we're going to deal with our images here in the library module. On the left side of the module, there is a navigator up at the top that shows me my image. If I'm zoomed in, there'll be a little box that shows me what part of my image I am looking at currently. Below that is my catalog statistics. How many photographs total do I have? 20. I imported 20. How many synced photos? That would be to the cloud. We're not going to worry about that. Quick collection. We'll talk about collections in an upcoming lab. And then our previous import. So right now our previous imports and all of our photos match because we've only imported once. But as you continue to import, this number on the top of all photographs will increase, and the previous import number will show how many you brought in the last time. Below that, we have our folders. This is the physical location of our files on our flash drive. This is where our files actually live. The photo file itself lives inside of this folder. When I click on that folder, it shows me my first 20 photos. When we start adding more images in upcoming labs, you'll see more folders will appear here, and we can deal with those folders and those files in different ways, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But the folders are the physical location of your image files. The collections down here are virtual locations of your image files. So an image can only reside in one folder. That image and that folder are singular. But when we start making collections, our images can live in multiple collections because it's a virtual copy. The collection just refers back to the physical location and says, I have this image, whatever image it is, as part of this collection. And we'll talk about collections in upcoming labs, and we'll get into great detail with the collections. Below that, we have published services. The published services is really how we get our photos out of Lightroom and share them with other services. You can see that we can send it to our hard drive, we can send it to Adobe Stock, we can send it to Flickr. There's other ones that you can set up. We're not going to use any of these. That's something you can explore on your own or something that you may use in future classes. And then down at the bottom, we have our import and export buttons. That is to get new photos into Lightroom. And then the export is to send the photos out if we need individual files. We're not going to be using this export function in this class. Everything we have is going to stay in Lightroom, and you're going to actually send me a copy of the catalog. And again, we'll get to that in a future demo. In the center, we have our preview window, and this is in grid mode. Grid mode shows me a grid of all the images in thumbnail versions. And I have a slider down here. I can make my thumbnail versions larger, where they take up more space, or I can make them smaller, where they take up less space. You can use your own best judgment to decide how much zoom you want on your thumbnails. In the lower left of the center console, we have, we can look at or sort, we can sort our images by capture time, when we added them, when we edited them, and so on and so forth. I like to do it by capture time because it shows me the most recent one that I shot to the least recent one that I shot. And we can flip that order around so that we can look at it in reverse order just by clicking on this A to Z or Z to A. Then we have some view modes over here. So it's right now in grid view mode. We can put it into loop mode, which will zoom in on the image and show it to us larger. This doesn't show us all of our photos, but that leads me to my next thing, which is down here, the thumbnail bar. And the thumbnail bar will show us all of our images sort of in a long line, sort of a film strip sort of line that will let us choose whatever image we want to see in that loop mode just by clicking in the image itself, and it'll bring that up. It'll also show us the file name up here and how many photos we have and how many we have selected, and it'll tell us what folder it's coming from. We can move from image to image or scroll with these arrows to scroll across the toolbar. We can move from image to image by hitting the arrow keys on the keyboard. So you can see I can click on the arrow keys right or left, and it will move me back and forth across my images. On the right side of our interface, we have at the top our histogram, which will also give us our ISO, the millimeters of our lens, our aperture, and our shutter speed. Below that, we have some sort of quick settings that we can get to. Assisted culling is in early access. We're not going to use any early access stuff or the culling scores or quick develop in here. So those first three are not going to be used in Photo 123. We do have our keywording. You can see that our general keywords are here. And now we can add our specific keywords. So we can choose things. I'm going to go back to the grid mode. And we can choose things to add in our keyword suggestions. So that's a house. And if I hold down the command key, I can select other images. House. Let's see. We'll call, maybe we'll just call those. That's a house up here. We'll call that a house. And there's a house. So there I've selected these 5 images that are houses. And I can click in my keywords. And I can say, comma, house. And I'm going to do comma, Old Town, because that's where I photographed them. And let's say it's sunny out. So we'll say sunny. So now you can see that these images have all 6 keywords on them now. If I click on this tree image, it doesn't say house, it doesn't say sunny, and it doesn't say Old Town. But those could be more specific ones for me to do. So let's select our trees now. I'm holding down the command key. And I'm selecting the ones that are sort of more about the trees that are in it. We'll call that one a tree. That's got a big tree in it. Let's see. We'll kind of go with this one having a tree. And so now I can say, comma, tree. And then if you look down here, you can see that it has keyword suggestions. So it's saying, by association of these being in the folder, here's some other keywords that were being used on these images, on images in this folder. So I can click on this button and it'll add Old Town to these photos as well. And I can click on sunny and it'll add sunny to the photos as well. You can go through and continue to do this until all of your photos have 6 keywords on them. You can also create keyword sets. So let's say you use the same keywords every time for certain images. So you can go in here and you can say edit set, and you can set up all the custom keywords that you want to use. And that way you just have to sort of go down and choose this set and it'll automatically add those keywords to it. We have a keyword list as well. This shows all the images or all the keywords that have been used, and the number of times that they've been used. So you can kind of use this to search. You can search for keywords in this dialog up here. So you can see keywords can be a very powerful way to organize your photos and be able to access and find photos at a later date. And then you can see down at the bottom of this right-hand panel, we have our metadata, and there's our copyright information that's showing up inside of our file. So this is a file that gets written, the metadata sort of gets written into your file, or at least maybe into that XMP file, so that when you export these images, it'll add it to that image. So that's the metadata. You can also go in and see if I choose up here, if I choose the, let's see, IPTC data, I can go down and I can scroll through a lot of the different data that's in there. Again, it shows me my copyright. If I go up here and I say EXFI data, this will show me when it was photographed, what my exposure was, what the focal length of my lens was. It will tell me my exposure value, my ISO rating, whether the flash went off, what mode I was shooting in, what camera I used, what lens I used. It sort of has everything, all the information for your file is saved in that metadata. So that's the basic layout. If this is too crowded for you, or you decide that you're not going to use some part of it very much, then you can click on these little triangles and fold up panels and get a cleaner view of what you're doing. So if you just want to sort of look at all your images, you could go to this very clean view. If you wanted to then see the thumbnails, all you have to do is scroll down and they'll appear when you roll over this bottom bar. And if you want them to stay, you can click on it again. Same with the left panel and same with the right panel. Just scrolling over it will make it appear, and same with the top. A way to get rid of all of them real quick to look at something is to click on the tab key. The tab key will remove them all from view and then bring them back. So it'll sort of take those left and right panels away and give you a cleaner view. So that's the basic interface and the basic layout of Lightroom.